S1, konnichiwa. Welcome to my Pecha Kucha on anti-fragile supply chains, or whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Today we're going to learn how Netflix and others build their businesses by trying to destroy themselves. So firstly, what is anti-fragile? Anti-fragile is a made-up word that has the opposite meaning of fragile. So what's fragile? As you know, fragile is something that breaks easily, like a mirror. If you kick it, it breaks, and that's the end of it. Other things are robust, like a brick wall. If you have the same level of body strength as me and you kick a wall, nothing happens to the wall. But robust is not really the opposite of fragile. In the same way, the opposite of positive is not zero, it's negative. Being robust is neutral. So if robust is not the opposite of fragile, what is? People who promote the idea of anti-fragility claim there's a third type, which we can call anti-fragile, something that actually gets stronger the more that you beat it up. So let's look at some examples of anti-fragile systems. You're anti-fragile. As you exercise or do some sports, your body gets tired. It's being damaged at a cellular level. But afterwards, when you rest, your body recovers. But not just back to its original state, it grows stronger. That's an anti-fragile system. The concept of anti-fragility was introduced by a book of the same name by Nassim Nicholas Taleb. He argues that we as humans need to seek out experiences that stress us, that hurt us, so that we can grow stronger. The same is true for companies and, yes, supply chains. But simply subjecting yourself to extreme stress without breaks doesn't work. The stressors must meet two critical conditions: sufficient recovery and not overloading in each dose. The core idea is about breaking down a stressor into smaller doses to be taken at regular intervals so that you can raise your overall tolerance to it. Let's talk about Netflix's content delivery supply chain and how they apply anti-fragile principles. Now, even though Netflix delivers its products over the internet, the principles are exactly the same as a traditional supply chain. The only difference is it's a supply chain that operates at the speed of light. And that means when things go wrong, customers are immediately impacted. So Netflix built a tool called Chaos Monkey. It's a virtual wild animal that they let loose on their digital estate, causing chaos. Chaos monkeys turn off servers, reconfigure settings, and generally reap havoc. Why? By constantly putting their systems under stress, then identifying and implementing improvements, the system gets stronger. This effort paid off in 2011 when a huge Amazon outage broke numerous popular websites. Netflix's service, however, despite running on Amazon's cloud, continued without interruption. For an example in a more traditional supply chain, recall last week's Amazon case, how they simulated stressful holiday conditions by artificially constraining their supply chain at other times of the year. Closing 15 out of the 20 doors available for supplier deliveries, they were able to identify process bottlenecks and refine their procedures. In both the Netflix and Amazon examples, they're not leaving the stresses on their systems to chance. They're proactively managing them. Another feature of these systems is, unlike during real disasters or genuine spikes in demand, if things start going wrong in your test, you can always stop the test early and let things get back to normal. But the idea goes deeper than just dress rehearsals for disasters and seasonal demand. In Taleb's view, we've been fragilizing, i.e. treating things as if they are fragile, the economy, our health, political life, our children, and more. We've made life too easy that we've lost our strength. Opportunities to create anti-fragile systems exist everywhere. For example, customers sometimes write negative reviews online, and each review is a small attack on the company behind the product. A company that believed in anti-fragility and had a system for learning from bad reviews might actively encourage customers with bad experiences to post them online. Now think about the concept of variability. In a supply chain, variability is a form of stress because it's more expensive to cope with than consistency. So although it might make financial sense and be more efficient to reduce variation, doing so creates fragility. So in the long run, a supply chain that is more flexible is more anti-fragile. But by far the most controversial corollary of anti-fragility thinking relates to debt. Remember, one of the necessary conditions for an anti-fragile system was not overloading on stress. Debt creates fragility because it leaves less room for errors, increasing the chance of a catastrophic failure. Like any idea, anti-fragility is not without its critics. Firstly, it's not really new. It's basically the same idea as Charles Darwin figured out 200 years ago. Second, it oversimplifies complex situations to a single dimension. And finally, not every system gets stronger when subjected to stress. In summary, an anti-fragile system is one that follows this circular flowchart. It feeds on doses of random stress, pain, and discomfort that are small enough not to cause irrecoverable damage, and is given time and resources to recover, so that it can grow back stronger and more resilient to ever higher doses of stress. Examples of antifragile systems include organisms. This concept is not so different from the theory of evolution. You, when you do exercise, simulations of supply chain disruptions, and anything that encourages chaos and randomness in your lives and work. But it's important to allocate recovery time and not to overload. Thank you for listening to my notes on anti-fragility and making it to the end. Do you think your company could become stronger if it were subjected to more stress? Or do you think this is a load of homeopathic nonsense that oversimplifies things to the point of no use? I'm looking forward to reading and growing from your criticisms on the forum.